Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting firm Riderflex. If you enjoyed today's guest interview, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to the Riderflex podcast. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
So, Radu, you're in Munich today, huh? You're in Germany. You're traveling around. You're meeting clients, or you're meeting candidates, or both?
Today, clients. Well, but that being said, in our job, right, clients become candidates, candidates become clients. So we should never be that specific to say that it's only a client. But specifically for today, the purpose of my meeting in Munich is to take on a board job and discuss in more detail what type of profile of a candidate they want. So happy to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation as well.
Yeah, you bet, man. Nice to meet you. How many languages do you speak?
I think there's a joke that I am silent in all of them. Speaking is Romanian, obviously my mother tongue, English, and then I kind of have some broken Spanish, Italian, and French in me. And but I can comprehend quite well Italian,
Okay.
French,
All right. So if you're at a restaurant and the waiter's kind of talking about you behind your back, you know.
In those 3 languages, yes, I would. Yeah, I would.
So tell us about your childhood and family and where you grew up. Give me a little early history if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, communist Romania, that's where I grew up the first 6 years, until we had a revolution. And more specifically, I grew up in the countryside. So I don't know what your background is, Steve, but good old days where you, at least in Romania, you grew up with your grandparents on a farm. Well, farm is perhaps an overstatement, right? They had 2 chicken, well, maybe 10 chicken, 2 cows, 2 pigs, all that kind of stuff, right? You work the garden at a young age, and you have fun playing in the dirt and not much toys and all those good stuff. So
right,
I remember fondly. I hated it at that time, but I remember fondly now. And then you get to dig in the garden, and you get to plow the field, and you get to clean after the animals and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where I started, and then spent most of my school. Graduated in Romania, and then I kind of left, and life took me in all sorts of directions.
Did you have siblings? And tell me what did your mom and dad do, or did you live with your grandparents raised you? Give me some history there.
Yeah, no. So my father is a university professor. No, so I just up till kindergarten I was with my grandparents, which was I think 4 or 5, and then I went to the town, whatever. It's a 50,000 people the town, and I went to kindergarten. So yeah, no. My mother was a nurse, and my father is a university professor, and then kind of mid class, I guess. Romanians. Okay. And I have one brother.
One brother. Okay. All right. Very good. And were you the good kid, the bad kid, the rebel? Where were you? Were you in the middle? Did you get in trouble? Give me, what kind of kid was Radu?
Look, I think, so I'm the older one. So I think by and large, well, there's no, I guess, I don't know if there's a pattern, but by and large, the older ones tend to be a bit more the responsible ones, right? And then tend to, I don't know. Anyway, so, and yeah, I was, I guess, the one that was quite okay in school and was quite okay with a lot of things. My brother, I think he had it a bit easier, and there was a lot less expectations and a lot more slack that was cut for him. So in that sense, I think I was, but neither of us were really rebels, in that sense. So I think we're mostly okay kids. No big drama in our families. Nobody turned out to sell drugs at the corner of the street, so that's a good thing as well.
Okay, all right, very good. And why psychology? Did you know what you wanted to do when you went to school? Give me a little history there.
I don't know too many people that do know what they want to do when they go to school, to be honest, Steve. I mean, I think that's one of the problems that we have with our education system. Like, who the hell in the right state of mind knows at 18, 19, 20 what they want to do in life? Like, I still don't know, and I'm 37. And well, I have a better idea than I had when I was 18, but I don't know too many people that know what they want to do. And I actually started and I went into computer science first because, you know, Romania, you might know, it's a very a lot of geeks, a lot of very good software programmers, a lot of very good hackers come from that side of Europe, Eastern Europe, Romania, Russia, and all of that. And you know, my parents thought that it's a good idea to take up that because, you know, I will have a good life, a good job, a good income, and I did that. So I went through, and it was a very tough admission. I don't know, it's like a huge competition to get into the computer science.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
It still is. It still is. It's one of the best universities in Romania, and I got in, and then 1 year later I realized, but I don't like this. Like, I mean, it's like I'm not the type of guy that just sits and programs stuff, right? So I really am not. And then I quit, and still I didn't really know what I was doing, but you know, I kind of liked all the sales, psychology, this kind of stuff. So then I said, okay, let's try psychology. So I ended up graduating psychology.
Okay. And then did you fall into recruiting, and how did you, you know, a doorway, a turn left, right? How did you kind of get into it?
Well, it's more like a door slapped me in the face, but I mean, you're a recruiter, right? So yes. I don't know anybody that's about 5, 6, 7 and says, you know, you ask the kid, what do you want to grow up to be? And then the kid says, I want to be a recruiter, right? I don't know anybody. I mean, you might say you're a policeman or a fireman or whatever, right? But you're not going to say that you're going to be a recruiter, yeah? So
that's right.
So no, I mean, it was completely accidental. And I was working for Monster.com, which is used to be quite a good one. Now it's kind of going not so good. But so I was working for that 10 years ago, and I sold Monster as a database, a candidate database, to this firm that was just opening up in Singapore, Morgan Phillips. And then they said, look, we are coming here. We're expanding aggressively in Asia. I want to join us. And I said, but what do you guys do, and what is this even? Like, oh, you know, come, because you're good at sales. Like, we can see that, and you're good at relationships. So come. So you know, they gave me a better salary. In all honesty, that was my main criteria. And I said, okay, fine. Look, I mean, how hard can it be? Well, I came to realize that it's freaking hard.
Especially moving to Singapore, right? Did you have to move to Singapore?
Well, I was there already. So I was there already.
Okay.
But to give you a sense of proportion, yeah, in Singapore, which is a 5 million, 6 million populations city, you have 4,000 individual recruitment entities. So there's about 20, 30, 40,000 recruiters as individuals working for those 4,000 entities. And as you know, now we can claim all that we want, but as you know, Steve, recruitment is by and large a people business, and it's not, nobody has some sort of artificial intelligence that gives them the edge over all the rest, right? So ultimately, you know, if you have a phone, you can claim that you're a recruiter. And you know, that was my reality, right? So I'm like, okay. But yes, I would say that over time, luckily I didn't quit the first 6 months, even if I wanted to, 20,000 times. And over time, we have built, now it's 10 years, that I've been doing this. We have built a very strong expertise. Again, by accident, I never wanted to be a recruiter or thought about it. Secondly, I never even knew supply chain or logistics, which is our specialization for the last 10 years. But again, because my first client was in that industry, DB Schenker, I ended up specializing, digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And now I can confidently say that we are indeed a specialized boutique focused recruiter in supply chain and logistics.
Were you married are you married now? Family, partners, relationships? Were you married then? When you give me some personal history there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, married. I was when I started in recruitment. I was married. I've been happily married for quite a while, since 2009 actually. So it's been 13 years, and 2 kids as well in the process.
Okay, very good. Okay, so did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? I'm assuming are you the founder of Alcott Global, primary owner, majority owner? Can you give me some history on ownership and founder? Yeah.
One of them. So we have a partnership agreement, right? So there's a couple of partners in the firm, and I'm one of them. All of us share a commonality is that we are all specialized within the space of logistics supply chain, right? Then
who's the chief? Who's chief? Who's captain?
My wife. I'm the boss, but she's the big boss. No, I mean, within Alcott, okay, that's in my personal life. Within Alcott, I mean, I guess if you look strictly at the shares, I would probably be the majority shareholder if you put all the different shares together. Okay. But we never, I mean, I feel very uncomfortable to talk in such terms like boss or manager or chief, because I never really think like that. And I think the moment that somebody thinks like that, that's the end of their business, because I mean, unless you think, okay, I'm the boss, which means I am fully accountable and responsible for everybody, which I think is the right mindset. Otherwise, it's just a negative. If you think that you have some sort of superiority, I think it's just wrong. So,
by the way, what you're saying matches the website too, right? It matches because I'm studying you, and I'm studying Alcott. Of course, yesterday and this morning, getting ready for the podcast. I'm like, well, okay, see, is there an org chart? I'm trying to figure out who's in charge. So you're purposely on the website pretty vague about it too. It matches what you're saying. So I appreciate that. And I love that thought process. Yeah, it's great. You're the people you work with must love that. I'm sure they love that culture. I'm guessing.
So look, I'm just coming off the back of a coffee, right? Half an hour ago with somebody that's joining our future managing director of Switzerland, right? Faye. And I was talking to her, right? And I mean, one of the main reasons she decided to join us, right? And she's, ex big recruitment, and she was global head of talent acquisition for a very large consulting firm. And she's at that stage of her life, right? 25, 30 years of experience. And I actually asked her, so why did you decide to join us, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that you could have done. And then she said something to the extent of, paraphrasing, I am at the point where I want to have fun. Like, yes, of course, work and all of that, but you guys seem to be having fun. Good. And I think that's what we are about in Alcott, right? We are about working hard, but having fun. And it's also about keeping that sense of individuality, right? So, okay, I'll use maybe I can't use Faye, but there's a lot of companies. Let's keep it more generic, because otherwise I'm going to point fingers and I don't want to do that. But there's a lot of companies in this world which go to the extent of even telling their staff what to post on social media, what not to post, all this kind of crap, which definitely just kills individuality and creates Xerox machine copies. Nothing wrong necessarily. I mean, there's models and models in this world, right? And probably if you're in Walmart, you don't necessarily want every single staff of Walmart to be wearing whatever they like, right? Yeah. Fair enough. But we are in a people's business, in a services business. And by and large, that's also my personality and belief, as well as my other partners. And I want all the people in Alcott to have their own individuality within Alcott. So, simple example, on social media, and you're going to, if you follow us on LinkedIn or whatever, you're going to see that everybody's posting, by and large, their own opinions, their own thought processes, and there's nothing scripted, or there's no entity or PR or marketing that's going to look at what are they doing to make sure that it's in line with the corporate values or whatever. So that, Steve, I think is a big differentiator, and people can see, sense, feel that, we are a team that likes working together, has fun, as well as delivers. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not just saying that we're just going to party every day. We work hard, and we arguably would say are faster to action and to deliver and to execute than most. But at the same time, that with having fun goes hand in hand in my mind.
I had a recruiter on the podcast a while back, and it was a great interview. Got it posted. One of her bosses at the company she works for made us take it down. Keep in mind, she didn't even hardly talk about the company she works for. It was just all personal stuff about her life and her beliefs and her opinions on various things that didn't have anything to do with the company. And her bosses called us and asked us to take it down. And so she called and said, well, I better take it down or I'm getting in trouble at my company. And I thought, wow. I was like, is that really who you want to work for? I mean, come on, that's the culture you want to be part of. I mean, that's crazy. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. Can you give us, by the way, for the listeners, even though Radu is technically the competition for Riderflex, I like him and he's on the podcast. So I want to make sure I'm pitching his company. It is alcottglobal.com, alcottglobal.com. Can you give us the 3-minute elevator pitch? Go for it for Alcott. What do you do? What do you specialize in? Why should companies use you? Go for it.
Yeah. I don't need 3 minutes. We connect the supply chain ecosystem. So the vision of Alcott is to connect the supply chain ecosystem. And by and large, we're actually not just doing that through recruitment, but yes, recruitment and executive search is
your audio. Oh, hold on, Radu. Hold on, right there. I want to make sure we edit that. Something happened, God. Tap your lap, something. Okay, give me a test. Say something.
Yeah.
There we go.
1, 2,
there
1,
we go,
2,
right
1.
there. Okay. I'm gonna have Brianna edit that because your pitch that's a good one. Let me do that again. Radu, give me the overview for Alcott Global real quick. Tell us what you guys specialize in and why people should call you. Go for it.
So Alcott Global is by and large a connector organization. So we say that we connect the supply chain ecosystem. What does that mean? So firstly, let's start with the basic supply chain. End-to-end supply chain, which is 4 pillars: plan, source, make, deliver. So pretty much everything you and me buy in a supermarket is being planned, sourced, made somewhere, and then delivered to that supermarket. So that's what Alcott Global does. It focuses on that and those 4 pillars, and then we do that through, and connecting that ecosystem, we do that through recruitment. We do that through our supply chain academy, that we're building an online program to educate professionals within supply chain on how to up their games, their skills, and to be technically in line with all the new developments. And thirdly, we also do that through a combination of, we have our All-Stars in Supply Chain, which we are launching in 2 months. I'll tell you more about it. We have a podcast, our own podcast, which again, we're some of the top CEOs. And
your connection. I'm losing you. Your connection is fading on me there a little bit. Damn it. Radu, can you hear me?
Nope, Steve.
Yeah, you're fading on me there a little bit. There's too many people in the hotel streaming videos.
God damn it.
Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah, it's fading on me a little bit.
Where did I break up?
Okay, I want to make sure because we're gonna have to kind of piece that together, which we'll take care of. Let's do the. I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you about the podcast because that's kind of where it really just. Yeah. And Radu, tell me about the podcast that you got. Talk to me.
So look, the podcast was really a project that started because we wanted to give access to very senior people to everybody. So we wanted to, if you want, democratize knowledge. Maybe it sounds a bit too fancy, but that's what we wanted. I was going to all these conferences, right? And what I realized is actually CEOs and chief supply chain officers and chief operations officers hardly go. They don't have so much time. So that's one. 2, if they indeed went, typically their presentations were fairly politically correct and fluffy. What do I mean? It's commercials where they said how great they are. They don't really talk about what doesn't work, right? So they weren't really keeping it real. Again, corporate compliance and God knows what, right? So on the back of that, I said, hey, why don't I start a podcast where, one, because we work with these people anyways, right? Yes. I can invite them. And then I control the narrative and the questions, right? And anybody can listen to it, right? You don't need to pay a lot of money to go to that conference, nor some of them you don't even have access. So that was the intent. And now we're 120 episodes. We've had some of the biggest CEOs on the planet. And also I've gotten better at asking harder and harder questions and forcing them to keep it real, right?
I love it.
In truthfulness, most of them, because also that's how we invite them, most of them I know would keep it real because that's why I invite them, right? Because I know them. And then keeping it authentic, genuine, open, challenges plus opportunities type, right? What works plus what didn't work for them. That's what adds a lot of value for the audience.
I love it. Yeah, we do the same on the Riderflex podcast. Same thing. You got to keep it real, human, authentic. That's what people want to hear. Listeners don't want to hear fluffy, dry corporate pitches without anything personal and just, it's just boring. Nobody. Do you guys at Alcott, do you step outside of supply chain? I mean, if somebody called and said, hey, I want a CEO for, I don't know, a food and beverage company, would you do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so supply chain for us means any company. So we do CEO, as long as it's for manufacturing related or supply. So supply chain, if it's a food company, they manufacture that food, right? So then
I see.
basically it's a supply chain job, actually.
I see. But not
Right
a
now,
SaaS. You wouldn't do a CEO for a SaaS company. No.
Unless SaaS in supply chain, unless it's software as a service within supply chain, right? So you have companies like SAP, right? They have all their solutions are more or less in supply chain. Not that we work with SAP, but just as an example, right? You have, I don't know, Blue Yonder, you have O9 Solutions, you have whatever, right? So that type of company, GT Nexus, yes, we work with them because they operate within supply chain.
Okay.
Microsoft by and large we don't touch, or whatever. Google by and large we don't touch. Google supply chain, because Google actually has a supply chain solutions arm. There we do.
I see. And how about yourself? Now that you have a bunch of team, how many people involved? Total people, total members, partners, employees, whatever you're calling them.
No, right now we're about 25.
Okay. And now that you got it to that level, are you primarily now just biz dev, client relations, or are you still actually doing some recruiting yourself? What is your role now that the company's at this size?
So depending on geography, so I'm managing two big chunks, right, which is Asia and Europe, and then we have some other managing partners for some other parts of the world. But no, I'm pretty much involved in certain jobs, right? So I'm of course much more perhaps picky in terms of where I get my hands, very very much hands on. But no, I'm doing at least a few jobs now. I mean, at least 5 to give you a sense, right? C-level myself. Okay. Now, always when you work on this, there is also a research team helping me. So I'm not doing it all by myself, but I am driving candidate interviews and client interviews and client engagement, everything, right, from start to finish.
Okay.
And yes, of course, at the same time, yes, I guess my bigger picture focus is to maintain and to develop more and more very, let's say, strategic relationships, client relationships, as well as to continue to develop our services and offerings beyond just search, to truly consolidate that position as an ecosystem player and as an ecosystem connector, right? So that's why we're developing the training and education. We're developing the content piece. We're, the book that is being finalized now, that has taken a lot of work, and I think that will be super exciting and help a lot of people. So I'm involved in all of those.
Oh, what's the book? What's the name of the book?
We just decided the name of the book literally 2-3 days ago. The book will be called From Source to Sold. Again, supply chain words. So but the subtitle, which is for everybody to understand, is Stories in Leadership in Supply Chain. Basically, it's a compilation of 26 careers. We have 26 executives across the world, right, from board level DHL to CEO of Volvo Cars to Chief Supply Chain Officer Chief Operations Officer of Danone, and they tell their own career stories and how and what made them successful. And basically, the book is about documenting that, as well as us, myself and Knut, which is a partner of McKinsey for supply chain. We give a couple of advice and our own sharings and conclusions after talking to all these very smart people in terms of what can a future student in supply chain or early career in supply chain or mid-career do to be successful, as well as we hope even seasoned executives can learn a thing or two from reading this.
I love your hustle, my friend. I mean, you've built a company, you've acquired now 20, 25 people that are involved with it. You're still doing recruiting yourself. You're still hustling, going on the road, jumping into hotels, meeting clients, and somehow in your spare time, wife, kids, and writing a book. So yeah, you're a hustler, which I appreciate, man. I love that. People, I meet people all the time and they'll ask me, well, why is this person successful? Why is that, why is that person successful? And I'm saying, I always tell them, I'm like, look, sometimes people get lucky, but most of the time it's hustle. People are busting their ass trying to make sure that they make it. And I can tell you have a lot of energy. You have a lot of positive energy. And I can tell you're getting up every day, hustling, making it happen.
Thank you. Well, look, I mean, again, keeping it real, Steve, right? I mean, I think days and days. there's shit days as well. Yeah, so I mean, it's not,
Yes.
not every day the sun is super bright, but by and large, I think we're and luck always plays a part. I think
A little
so.
bit.
I think where most people, and especially the young, and I was young, and I had the same mindset. Yeah, so I had to learn over time myself. You know, there's the saying, work smart, not hard. That shit it is, right? I think it's try to do both.
Try to do
there's
both.
there's a lot safer bet on hard. I mean, okay, unless you're dumb, but hard is you can control. Smart, well, it's subjective, and you're not really gonna know, right? After a while, you're gonna know whether you were smart or not, right? So, and depending on if you succeed or not, right? But hard you can control, right? So hard is within everybody's control, and typically the harder you work, the faster you learn, and then you can become smarter, right? So I think too many people think somehow there's a shortcut. I thought myself.
There are no shortcuts. No, there are no shortcuts. I want to ask you, if, you know, both of us deal with clients all the time, right? And, you know, sometimes we have 30 recruiters involved now at Riderflex, and, you know, we get on the team calls, and, you know, the recruiters are like, oh my God, this client is messy, and that client's messy. I tell them, I'm like, look, every company to a certain degree is a little bit messy. Okay. There are no perfect companies that are super clean with perfect communication. Okay. Get that out of your head. If you could give 3 pieces of advice to a company getting ready to hire their first outsource vendor for recruiting, they've never used a recruiting firm before. They're getting ready to. And you could probably write a book about it, but what 3 things would you tell them on this podcast? Like, hey, if you're getting ready to use a recruiter, please do this, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client.
So let's see. So first, I would, if I was the client myself, right, I would make sure that I do, just like when you have a heart surgery, yeah. Because again, I'm talking C-level, yeah. So let's, because again, if you're hiring the C-level for your organization, it is literally heart surgery.
Good point.
Like you get it wrong, you can die. So I would just make sure, just like you and me would, if we go to a doctor, that you do your ref checks. You don't just Google who's the best heart surgeon in the area. Oh yes, Mr. X, let me go for him, right? I mean, you would ask around, no? I mean, you would say, hey man, I mean, have you, you know, who has had heart surgeries? What have you? So first step, I mean, do back checks, like do proper, and make sure that whoever you select, depending on what you're looking for, and depending on the areas and the specialization based on functions and industries and all of those good stuff, right? But make sure it's a really good damn recruiter in that area. So that's what I would say number 1. Number 2, look, like anything in life, again, back to the doctor analogy, it is, you got to trust, right? I mean, you know, you can do your background checks, your ref checks, your whatever. If you made up your mind, then trust and give trust to that person and partner, right? I mean, unless it's a trusted relationship, it ain't going to work. Also trust, usually, I mean, I don't know about you guys, we only work on retainers, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's the only model, and I'm not saying it has to be the only model, but by and large, I would say that trust, you know that you're in a trusted relationship if it's exclusive. You as a client should be ready to say, look, I trust this person, I trust this company, I'm going to work exclusively on on a retainer, because that's how you get your best bang for the buck, actually. It drives me nuts when there's HR or whoever that thinks somehow that if you give it to 3, whatever, I've seen as crazy as 10. I give it to 10 recruiters and I'm going to get more CVs. The hell you are. You're going to get maybe more shit CVs, yeah? But nobody's really going to work on your job, right? They're going to give you only what they happen to have available, and you're never really going to get the quality that takes from digging and really looking, because no recruiter will put in the work unless it's a trusted relationship either, right? It's a give and take. It's a
bingo. And let's just pause right there. And I've done many episodes on the topic of contingency versus retained. And, you know, I'm sorry if I'm offending any contingency firms out there, but most of the time it's just shit. I mean, all they're doing is throwing resumes over the fence. They're not putting in the time because there's no relationship, there's no commitment, there's no exclusive, there's no retainer. So you got recruiters that aren't really vested, and they're just kind of, okay, I'll toss a few resumes over, but they're not going to do good work. I mean, it would be like the heart surgery thing, right? It would be like, hey, doctor, tell you what, I want you to do heart surgery on me, and I'll pay you after if you do a good job and if I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and if I didn't die, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of doctor are you going to get, right? You're not going to get the good doctor. And so, if you're listening to this episode and you're running a company and you're using contingency firms to hire VPs and executives, I'm telling you, you're getting shitty service. You're getting watered down service, and you could get so much better and save you a lot of time, because the exclusive firm like Alcott, they're going to send you good finalists, like several, 2, 3, 4 people that can do the job. They're not just going to toss a resume over and be like, oh, what about this? What about this person? What about this person? Yeah, we could do. You got to come back to the show. We could do a whole episode on contingency versus retained. I get fired up on that topic too. It really gets me wound up. And the same thing goes for what you said too. Then you get a little HR person, right? Some like 2-year HR person inside the company after your team has presented a CEO, and somebody over on the HR side is like, well, I noticed on the resume that they don't have this and don't have, and you're like, okay, listen, Mary, will you just please get out of the way and let me talk to the CEO that I need, or let me talk to the board to present this candidate. Like, you're wasting time.
I'm with
sorry.
you.
I'm
But
venting. You got me rambling.
So look, but let me perhaps complete the picture a little bit, right? Because I was, I feel your pain. I've been there. I still am there sometimes, right? But I think also, if we had to flip from where we stand, right, you and me as recruiters,
yeah,
we also should choose our clients. Like, back to work hard versus smart, right? So ultimately, look, you don't have control whether Mary or John from HR will sign a retainer or not. That's not within our control, right? But what is within our control is to say, look, I mean, if you don't want to sign, the world is big, and go use whoever XYZ that you can. And I'm almost like to the point, and maybe sharing some secrets. I don't think it's any secret, to be honest, but we are at the point right now where, and I mean, it might sound arrogant. It's going to sound arrogant, but if I get asked, like, why should we use you? My genuine answer is, look, Mr. Client, I don't know. Like, if I am here in front of you, so we haven't done business development or sales in 3-4 years, because what we do,
get referrals.
Referrals is one, but we focus on putting out a lot of content. A lot. So the way that we get business is because people see something or hear, or today, not today, Monday, when it was Monday, 2 days ago, I got a call from an HR that was referred by the CEO, who I had met 4 years ago, and the gentleman had been following us on LinkedIn ever since.
Beautiful.
And now, after
Beautiful.
4 years, he got his HR to call us for a C job, right? So, I mean, when I get asked, and the lady asked me, so why should we use? I'm like, okay, wait. Like, you came to me, right? Like, I mean, if you still ask me, I don't know. Like, why did you call me? Like, I mean, you should know why to use me or not. Like, I mean, if you don't know, what can I possibly tell you?
Oof,
what
good one.
Exactly could I possibly tell you that none of the other recruiters are going to tell you? So if you still don't know, I mean, Google us. I don't know. Ask other people. I don't know. Do what you need to
love
do.
it.
You don't ask me to convince you, because I can't, firstly, and I won't, because that's why we put out content, so that you should know what we do. If you don't know, then what can I tell you?
Oh, Radu, I love that. I would just add 2 things to that. And if you're listening to the podcast, I also recommend, don't spend a lot of time trying to oversell and convince somebody to use your service. You meet them, you tell them what you do, you show them your results. If they want your service, great. If not, move on. Don't burn a lot of minutes trying to convince somebody. Yeah, I could not agree more. And the other thing is, what you just said is, if you own a service business, if you're running any kind of service business, when you get to the point where you can say no to a prospect, and you can say, no, thanks anyway, I don't want to do business with you, that is a magical pivot point, because then you're in a place where you can pick and choose your clients, and you can work with good people, nice people, clients that are going to pay you on time, clients that are going to, not be messy and crazy. when you get to that point at running a service business, it's really a magical point. And you need to be brave enough to say, no, I don't want to work with you, Mary. No, thanks anyway, Johnny.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the saying, and it took me a while to realize it. My first boss many, many years ago taught me this. It's memorable. Steve, are you ready? Don't try to teach a pig to sing. It irritates you and it frustrates the pig.
I love it. Oh my God. I'm using that one. I'm taking that line. Okay. We're gonna wrap up with that line right there. But before we go, I have to ask you this, totally switching gears on a personal level here, real quick, just because you're from Romania. I have to ask you, thoughts on the whole Russian-Ukraine thing. I know that's kind of outside the lines question, but you're kind of from that area. You probably know a lot of people that are being affected. How do you look at it? I'm just curious how you look at the situation, and do you have any thoughts on what should be different or what should be done? I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking.
No, and I don't. And I think we are all affected. I would argue that all of us. I mean, today I posted something on LinkedIn on inflation. Okay. Inflation, and you, me going to the supermarket, wherever we are, bear in mind, wherever you are in US, I'm in Europe, wherever, Africa, you name it. It is still linked to the fact that, well, one, I mean, we've had COVID, two, we've had whatever other shit, but three, there's that war that is, I mean, price of anything pretty much agricultural related. Well, it's Ukraine and Russia where we get a lot of that food coming from, right? So that has gone through the roof. Plus, because of the war, the price of fuel and gas and all of that with Russia, right, has gone through the roof. So it's affecting all of us. I don't see any company or any person in this, more or less. So now, me being Romanian, so basically, I don't know, 300 kilometers from the war, depending on where I am in Romania, 200 kilometers. Okay, so, I mean, I think it's by and large, it's a very sad situation. Like, I think it's a lose-lose situation. One, obviously, I have very strong negative feelings, not about Russia in general, but about Putin. I think he's a madman that has, I think he just has too much power, and he went a little bit nuts in his own mind, and he doesn't talk to anybody. But okay, that's just me. I don't know the guy, obviously, right? But that's. But secondly, I mean, what's there to win? Like, there's so much destruction and human loss and people dying, and both on the Ukrainian side and Russian side, right? They're losing. And if anything, politically, right now, Finland and Sweden is going to go into NATO. So he's achieved zero. Like, he has jack shit achievements in this war, right? Because he's actually, okay, fine, if he argues that particular area where there's more Russians in Ukraine, but he's destroyed it. Like, he has destroyed the bloody thing. So who wants to live there? Like, it's makes zero sense if we think logically. I mean, of course, there's always these things are not logical. No war in this planet has been logical. It's just sad. It's a sad situation.
Yeah.
There's going to be, tremendous consequences on human. There's already been. That will take a long, long time to heal. And then economically, yes, it's just putting fuel to a fire that I mean, I think we are already in a recession. Yes, it's just don't call it. They haven't, because they have a definition for recession, which is 2 quarters of I don't know what. Steve, me and we are already there.
Yes.
It's just, and look, it's overdue. I mean, these things up, go down. It's normal life, right? But it's just accelerating. And I don't know what the bottom will be this time around, right? So I think that is something that considered maybe safe for the dark days that are coming. So that's in short. I hope they could find a way to mitigate peace. That would be my hope.
I know every single day I get another email from one of our vendors that says they're raising prices. I mean, it seems like everybody's raising prices. Yes, we're definitely.
How not to? Because all the costs have gone up, right? From raw materials to transport to fuel to you name it, to services has gone up. So how could you possibly not raise prices?
Agreed. Radu, thank you. I know we're out of time. I would like to ask you one more thing offline here after we hit stop on the recording. Really appreciate you being on the Riderflex podcast, my friend. I'd love to have you back on so we can go deeper into clients and candidates and talk. We didn't get a chance to talk about candidates and advice for candidates and things, which I wanted to get into, but I know we're out of time today. Thank you, sir. Congratulations on what you're doing over at Alcott, to you and your team. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Steve.